Well, g'day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Adelaide Conservatives. It has been a while. As always, I'm joined by Luke Munro.
Yeah, it's been way too long.
It has been way too long between drinks. Having said that, we just couldn't resist with the American election coming up, everything that's happening over there in that crazy world. We're going to be leading into the federal election here in Australia, big talks about nuclear energy, and also, you know, in the next couple of years, we're looking at candidates coming through for the state election. So it's a good time to ramp up the podcast again. How have you been, Luke?
Yeah, real good, thanks. I've been very busy, and obviously, life happens, and that sort of has interrupted a few of our podcasts. It's been a little while, as we said, so time to get back into it.
Yeah, no. And look, it has been a while, but as we were saying, there's some pretty crazy stuff happening. If you have a look at America at the moment, so we're filming this on Friday. So Joe Biden has just finished his remarks at NATO and his big boy press conference, as they're labelling it, as he tries to recover from that absolutely disastrous debate performance, probably the worst in American debate history.
His remarks, you mean the scripted ones, and then the scripted questions from the journalists that he got. It's look, I guess that all follows on from the debate performance, 10 days ago or whatever it was now. It's just a train wreck that is just continuing on, hasn't stopped.
It
gift that keeps giving.
Well, the thing is, particularly conservative media, we've been saying at the previous versions of this podcast, Joe Biden's mental capacity has been diminishing over these. I mean, you go back and have a look at a few of Joe Biden's speeches from 2008, when he was a vice president nominee, even up to, if you look at a few of them from the last presidential campaign, you'll see a rapid decline in his cognitive ability, and the left media have been hiding it for a very long time, and those chickens are now coming home to roost.
Yeah, look, it was always there. I just think, really, probably the last. I mean, we watch it all the time. We're political nerds, but probably the last 2 years, it's just become undeniable. And the fact that it took that debate performance for the mainstream media to suddenly wake up and go, "Oh, Houston, we have a problem." I mean, what do they think? It has me thinking, two things. Why'd they do the debate when they did it? They didn't need to do it then. So are they trying to out the guy because they just go, it's got to a critical mass for them behind the scenes?
Well, it was you that said to me in the lead up to the debate, you said the only reason why you could think they would have the debate that early would be if it goes pear-shaped, they can replace him at the convention.
They've got time for a plan B. Yeah.
So, or even if you want to be a bit more conspiratorial around it, they knew he would stuff up and they planned it that way so they can replace him. They've got a reason to do it.
Yeah, look, I mean, I know you probably feel a little bit differently from our chats on this, but I think he's going to stay. I don't really think there's a mechanism that's going to be easy and it's going to be smooth and it's going to look very democratic to get rid of him.
And this is the problem they've got, because they've gone on a ticket and they're going to, say Trump is anti-democracy. He's going to have this big MAGA Republican movement that's going to take over, and he's got a beautiful hat, by the way. It's going to trigger a few people out there, I'm sure. But when they're running on that ticket that Donald Trump is the end of democracy, not that he's bad for democracy, they're saying he's the end of democracy, they have to run a watertight campaign in terms of how their ticket looks. And the biggest problem they have is, like everything in American politics, you have to follow the money.
Yep.
Now, there's some pretty strong campaign laws around how that works, and people who have donated to the Democratic campaign have been donating to the Biden-Harris campaign. Now, the only way of keeping that money if Donald Trump steps aside is to have Kamala Harris.
Joe Biden.
Joe Biden.
Yeah, okay, Joe.
I've done a joke. The only way to have Joe Biden step aside is Kamala Harris coming in. It's about $200 million in the kitty.
$220 million.
Yeah.
So essentially how the campaign laws work, if neither of those two are on the ticket, the money has to be refunded. Now, I'm sure they'll get a majority of it back, but that's a time-consuming thing. And that's if people haven't lost their appetite by the change and the kerfuffle. It's terminal, basically. They're probably going to get most of it back, but by the time they get it back, the campaign's going to be well and truly running. Trump's got a bigger kitty at the moment than what the Democrats have, which, I mean, that hasn't happened since 1984 with Ronald Reagan, that the Republicans had a bigger campaign kitty.
And that's the basis for your prediction. They will hold on to Biden. They'll lose everything, but they'll hold on to Biden to try and save the finances.
Well, they'll do that. Like, I know most people think, oh, Biden, he's basically a vegetable. How the hell could you keep running with him? But I think the last election, and I think this election too, it's not about Joe Biden. Now, I think that's the thing that people, I guess, on the more conservative side of politics, and especially in America, can't take for granted. This isn't about Joe Biden. This is about anyone but Trump. So last 2020, Biden didn't win that election. Trump just lost it by a calamity of things going on with COVID, mail-in ballots, all these new things, all these unusual things. That's how he lost the election.
Well, to be fair, there's not many COVID leaders, whether they're world leaders or state leaders, that have survived through.
No.
That COVID time had a complete clear out, left or right from the political class.
Because it's shambolic how they handled it.
People had protest votes.
People panicked, yeah. Well, leaders panicked and did ridiculous things that you just wouldn't expect in a modern democracy. And, they might just about all of them have been punished for it. But yeah, as to what I was saying, so essentially Joe Biden I think he will stay in the race. I might eat my hat next week if that's not the case, but I think he'll stay in the race because it's not really about Joe Biden. It's so polarised, right? It's so polarised. You even look at the polls. Trump has gone up in the polls, but not by much, 1 or 2%, if that. Really, when you look across the board, not much has changed since Joe Biden having a calamitous debate performance and all the little things that happened since and before. Not much has changed. When you read, I'll follow the 538 polls and Real Clear Politics polls, religiously, because like I said, I'm a political nerd. But I go through all that, and not really much has changed. Trump's winning, but he's not smashing it out of the park like you'd expect. And I think that's because it's a partisan vote as opposed to a vote for the man.
Yeah. Now I see things a bit differently from that, and you're right in saying that it's not about Joe Biden. And I think when you go back to 2020, it was a referendum on Donald Trump. It was a lot of a protest vote.
Anyone but Trump.
And Trump still managed to get 70 million votes or whatever it was.
Yeah. No, I can't remember the exact number, but they basically came very close to.
The left in America are very much the same here in Australia. They're coordinated. They're fantastic campaigners. They know how to, particularly in America where voter turnout's an issue, they know how to get the people out to the ballots and vote, and do very creative ways of doing that.
Yeah.
But it's a machine about winning. It's the blue machine. So it's not about Joe Biden. It's about keeping power.
Yeah.
And as long as this keeps on going on, every press conference, every gaffe is going to be an overwhelming amount of pressure on the party machine behind Biden to put an overwhelming amount of pressure on him that he knows that he's going to be falling down, and he will start leaking about his own legacy in the end when it becomes abundantly clear. And that's going to be a fair bit of pressure that still needs to come. Before he had his big boy press conference, I think it was 12 lawmakers on the Hill, being either senators or congressmen, had publicly, Democratic congressmen have said, no, we want Biden not to be on the ticket anymore.
Yeah, one senator as well.
Before the end of that, it went up to 14 before the end of that press conference.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to now be a wave. You've got George Clooney. All the reports are saying that Obama's people are the ones really pulling the strings and put the pressure on. You've got Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer. That Democratic establishment, when they get on the wrong side, they're going to push. I mean, you look at Nancy Pelosi's comments. She's been saying, I want Joe to decide. But she's saying that after Joe's already said very clearly he wants to be in, and she's saying, I want Joe to... What she's saying is, Joe, I want you to leave before I actually put my pressure on. Well, and that pressure will come, particularly after NATO, because they don't... And fair enough, you wouldn't want that in any world leader. Putting pressure on a world leader during a NATO summit in their own country would be a bad idea. Well, now it's over, and the next week there's going to be an absolute tidal wave of pressure coming on to Joe Biden.
Yeah, and you know what? I think probably because of that cognitive decline, and also the other thing that there's I think Joe Biden, and partially rightfully so, would have an amazing amount of bitterness towards the Obamas and a bitterness towards the so-called Democrat elites, because they've never really wanted him to have his hands on the reins. So I actually think he'll dig in.
Well, everyone's
saying, what are they going to do? Are they really going to just run their whole campaign off the road? You'll see them like, is this a cycle? You saw it last week. Some of like MSNBC and those people starting to sort of come back to Biden. Sort of trying to find positives in things.
Now they're going back away.
Now they're going, oh no, it's still crap. So they're starting to, well, that's it. I think you're going to see that cycle just continuing, and it's then at some point when they actually announce him as the nominee, Biden's going to be awesome again.
Yeah,
and it's going to make you puke.
Well, as soon as we saw that the political genius and world-renowned political strategist George Clooney came and called the pin on Joe Biden, it was the end. But that's the problem, is that when you hatch your trailer to the elite and the Hollywood class, you're also at the behest of them for finances, resources. Yeah, and then when they tip it, they turn on your big.
It's the left of politics in general. Yeah, it's exactly the same here. Who they wheel out to tell us that we wanted a voice. They're wheeling out celebrities. And
did you want that header off? That is getting very hot.
Yeah,
it's cooking. But yeah, no, you're right.
There you go.
Sorry about that. That is getting seriously hot. No, it's all right. No, it's summertime under here.
That's how it works. Yeah. I know you've got. I do think a different opinion, but I think it's too hard.
We have a look at the gaps that he had today, and as we said, we're recording this on Friday night here in Adelaide. So today he called Zelensky. He introduced him as President Putin. Probably one of the worst gaps you could make at a NATO summit.
See how you could do that, but
he's then called his Vice President Trump.
Yeah, instead of skipping it, he just kept going. Like most of us, we misspeak and we pick it up, but he didn't even pick it up. He just kept going with it.
Well, I was listening to that live, and then I actually had to, even though it was live, I went back on YouTube just to go, did I hear that right? Because that was...
Oh, yeah, no. It was...
he certainly said that. Then later on in the press conference, he was talking about some friends in Australia, New Zealand, Japan...
And Australia.
And Australia.
Yeah.
And, it's not just one or two. These things are building up, and every time he gets in front of the microphone now, there's going to be a huge amount of pressure and scrutiny, and that doesn't go away.
But the reality is, it's for most of the left. Today was a win because he got through the whole press conference without passing out or shitting his pants. I mean, that's really what the standard is now. That's where we're at. If you can get through the thing without doing something diabolical, it's all little claps for Biden.
The good thing about it, from an observer in a different country that has no stake, real direct stake in the result of how the American elections go, it's become a fascinating election now. It's sort of heated up into what is happening. There's different things. It's changing by the day.
Yeah.
As we lead into November, there's going to be plenty of podcast episodes on what's happening in America, but also in Australia at the moment. The federal polls are sharpening. We've seen Dutton making some big ground in New South Wales and also in Queensland, where it was always going to happen. There's been talks of an early election. Albanese, I don't think, will call it an early election. He want to push this out as long as he can.
Yeah, no, I think so.
But having said that, he's going to push it out to next year. He can only push it out so far. We might see one or two interest rate rises before then, and he's going to be in absolute world of trouble. And if he doesn't do a reshuffle, during this winter break with his cabinet, there's going to be more problems in immigration, all these things too, that he could be in a world of pain.
Yeah, I think he is in a world of pain in that he's going to have a minority government. I honestly can't see any path to Peter Dutton winning the election. Obviously I'd like to see him win the election, but I can't see a path there. I think his best chance is to basically force a really yucky minority government and hang on for 3 years for next time. That's what I think Dutton's best hopes are.
It has the taste of Tony Abbott all over again.
Yeah, that's right.
When Tony Abbott came in, you had all of the media saying that bloke is not
unelectable.
He would never be a prime minister. But he turned out to be a really effective opposition leader. He united the party behind certain messages and certain issues that they wanted to get behind. He put the government into minority government, and that's what may happen. And as soon as they're a minority government, they're going to be signed up to the Greens and all these other things. Who knows, with the Muslim vote, that new Muslim party they might be having in a few of the Sydney seats and maybe inner city Melbourne, those sort of places. He's going to be pulled further to the left in a minority government. And in a country like Australia, Labor governments are only successful when they play that centre road and have more of a right leaning to them. The left Labor governments never succeed in Australia.
Well, they've run with a hard left leader, so that's made that very difficult for them. I mean, really in hindsight for them, they someone like Bill Shorten would have been better, or Tony Burke or someone like that, because they can run that centre of the road. But that's what's going to cause Albo a problem. I thought when he won, I thought there's a high chance it was Albo's won once. Because the hard left, you get the same on the other side, like a hard right leader. It's very, very hard to keep it all together. You've got to be somewhere more centralist, especially in Australia, to try and keep it all together, or to have a majority.
Yeah. The more you get to the fringes of the left or the right, the more that, I think Australians generally are just pretty laid-back, comfortable people that don't want to shake the boat.
Yeah,
and they see either of those things as shaking the boat. They might go, that might be a good idea, but no, I'm not sure about that.
Yeah,
let's keep it how it is. It's going all right. Let's not. So Australia's always going to have that type of centrist view to it. Having said that, when we say centrist, we're not, in opposition. Liberal parties win when they take the more conservative approach.
Yeah,
they don't win by going Labor light.
Yeah, but then they come back to the centre.
They always come back to the centre,
like Howard did.
Yeah,
Howard won with what would have been considered much more right-leaning policies. And then by election 3 and 4, he'd come back to the centre. He kind of had to keep winning.
And if anyone is listening from the left of politics, they'd be appalled that we're calling John Howard anywhere near the centre, because they'd be going, "Oh, no." He was a fascist.
Yeah, no.
But it just probably shows you where we think with our politics.
Yeah. No, that's right.
And then, the other big bold. I mean, you look at the bold moves Dutton has had. His stance on The Voice. When The Voice came out, it was about 70% of Australians in the polling were supporting The Voice to Parliament.
Yep.
He showed that actually when you stand up for something, you believe in it and you sell your message, and people go, hang on, I didn't know that. And then they think a second time about it.
Oh, the scare campaign.
The scare campaign, all of a sudden, Australia literally flipped 180 on what they were polling, at least, in those early days, because they actually had a leader up there saying, actually, no, you don't have to support that. And that was a moment that he showed better leadership.
Well, Australians have never liked to be told.
No.
And whenever politicians go out and try and tell you how something is, it always backfires. The Voice. And look, what Dutton's doing with the nuclear's not a bad tactic. He's putting it out there. He's basically putting it out there. Go, this is our policy. He's trying to put it out there as this. Let's have a discussion about it. But Albo's doing exactly what he did with The Voice. He's telling us that we don't want it. He's telling us it's bad, even though it's good for the rest.
Put out the 3 on TV, the koalas, but
even though he's like anyone that does any research can see that he's clearly in the wrong on his renewables. Just going to do it for a country like Australia. But that's ideological for him. So,
and they can't help. They don't like to say that they're campaigning on it being an unsafe technology, because they know now there's so much evidence now that the modern stuff is
that's 1980 stuff. That doesn't wash in.
That's in their mentality. That's what they want to push to their base. But every time they do that, they see the higher ground about this. I mean, they're stronger when they talk about the economics of it. They want to stick Peter Malinowskis' opposition to nuclear power is going to be a lot more of a stronger argument than the Albanese version of the opposition to nuclear power.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, during a time when cost of living is going through the roof, electricity bills are going absolutely skyrocketing. I haven't seen a $275 reduction in our bills as a campaign from Anthony Albanese. That's going to be the real issue. And I think one of the things coming up with the Olympics being in France,
powered by nuclear energy.
But there's going to be all these adverts of how fantastic France is. They're going to go and show you the wine regions and all this beautiful scenery.
Nuclear power plants and
it's all powered by nuclear power, and it's such a clean and safe, and
70% of their grid.
Every time we have a champagne, it comes.
It's been fermented using nuclear energy.
So it's not this scary beast that Labor have been trying to point it out to be for years. And Australians are waking up to the fact that when you go all in on renewable energy, and a bit of renewable energy is not bad, it's about getting the balance, you need baseload energy. And if you're not going to have gas, you're not going to have coal, then the only other baseload energy that you can do that's clean, green, zero emissions is nuclear energy. So the pros are so high, and it's almost, to me, when you actually look at the policies, if you didn't have ideology and you picked up the two policies, you're going to say the Liberal policy is going to be the more environmentally friendly policy.
Yeah, look, I chatted with you, and I'm not going to bore the viewers with the maths of it or the whole breakdown, but I did the breakdown based on CSIRO's figures, and I think their figures are probably, they're obviously leaning one way. But went onto the breakdown of how many gigawatts produced versus how many dollars per gigawatt of production, and I compared it to renewables and I compared it to nuclear. The costs actually come out about the same by the CSIRO's numbers. But the kicker is the renewable stuff has a 20, 25 year tops lifespan.
Yeah.
The nuclear stuff can have a 100-year lifespan, but 60 years at a minimum. So what I worked out from the figures, this is CSIRO's own figures, is that the cost to do it, it is expensive. It's as expensive as what Albo's renewable energy dream is, really, when you actually break it down. But do you want something that you're going to have to spend all that money over again in 20 or 25 years, or do you want something that's going to get you at least 60 years? I mean, it's like going and buy a car that you know is going to last a year or one that's going to last 2.
Yeah.
For the same money, you're going to buy the one that's going to last 2.
Yeah.
And that's I think how Peter Dutton, I'm sure he will be able to articulate that and sell that message.
I think that's the first point of it. The other point is that when you look at the figures and they look at the total gigawatt, megawatt, when they do their numbers, solar energy produces a lot at once. Everyone has them on the rooftops at the moment. As soon as you have a day where the clouds go away, everyone is producing it and it's in excess, so therefore no one's using it.
Yeah, but those figures are worked out on the average of what goes in the grid.
So those figures are grid-based?
Yeah, grid-based.
Grid-based.
Those grid-based figures.
So even with the grid-based figures, we're seeing that it would be about equal?
About the same cost, yeah.
The same cost.
Yeah.
But then, so you just
some days, the renewables is going to be far more efficient.
Yeah.
But the reality is, you're not always going to have those some days. You're going to have days where the wind's not blowing. You're going to have cloudy days. You're going to have, but as a whole, that it averages out across a year. When you work it out on gigawatt of production, gigawatt for both, it actually works out basically the same, the figures.
But I think the most powerful part that is getting overlooked a little bit is we're basing these figures on what the average household is using at the moment.
Yep.
Now, to ramp up electricity to have, for what's needed in 2040 or 2050 is going to be ridiculous. If they're going to go down this electric car, electric car, how much does that use compared to even an electric car?
Yeah.
Your usage for powering your car versus your home in a week?
Look, it's probably about... it's like having another half a house attached.
Half a house.
That's basically what it is based on. But we've got, we've got a 5-bedroom house and 4 kids, and we've got high consumption.
Yeah.
So it's probably the same as a standard 3-bedroom house as far as consumption.
Yeah.
And when you look at that out, they go, it's power, it's free power, it's this, that, and the other. Well, yeah, but it's still power. You're still sucking out 80 kilowatts plus a week to power
somewhere.
Car.
Yeah,
and we've talked about that in a previous podcast, but and as I said, it's very clear. I didn't buy the Tesla to save the world.
He did.
No, I didn't. No, I bought it because it goes 0 to 103 seconds. That's why I bought it. But yeah, great car. I can't complain about it. But I'm a realist. It takes about 80 plus kilowatts a week for me to charge it, and that's basically to get a tank full of gas, more or less.
Yeah.
That's not free. That still costs about $30.
I think that's the other part. So many people think it's free power. I don't know where they're getting this power.
No. I mean, people go, but Albo even said, have you got a Tesla battery, or a battery, you can charge your car with it. Well, most home batteries are only 5 to 10 kilowatts. It's like 80 kilowatts. 80 kilowatts. It's like an eighth of a tank.
Yeah.
And then you've sucked it all out of your battery. You sold one out of your home battery in an hour, and then your house that night hasn't got any battery generated power. That defeats the purpose.
The benefit would be in reverse. You could use your car battery to power your home because it's such a larger battery if you had it charged up.
That is happening.
Yeah.
Not Tesla haven't done a software update to do that yet, but
But
the Chinese electric cars are doing that. They are doing that. But you still had to charge that car somewhere. You
But if
probably
you charge
charged
it low rate,
you probably charged it at your work,
yeah.
you know, or your business. So you're charging it somewhere, no matter what. You know?
But again, depends on your setup. So if you're charging it during the day at your work or your business that has solar and you're putting your own power into it,
yeah,
then you could power your home at night off of it. That's your benefit. So you're not paying the higher fees.
but you in most businesses or home solar systems cannot charge those cars
that don't
at the rate
isn't necessary.
that will, like, on a fast charge. I mean,
The other thing is, if we could
probably suck 80 kilowatts out in about 3 hours.
The other thing is we go fully electric. The average household now has 2.3 cars per house.
Yes.
Yeah, mum has a car, dad has a car, and kids stay at home a lot longer, so at least one of the kids has got a car at home.
Yeah.
The average has gone to 2.3.
Yeah.
So if it's about half what your house is doing per car, you're at least doubling your house. Your whole grid is almost doubled. So think of how much power needs to be in the network.
If you remember a while ago, about a year ago, when we were doing a podcast, I don't even remember, but I worked it out. Yeah, and the numbers nerd I am as well. I worked it out. So we're currently using about 260,000 gigawatts of power a year. And I worked out we'd need 400,000 gigawatts of power in the network in order to charge every household.
Massive amount.
Yeah, it's a huge amount. Yeah. And you could put 100 nuclear power plants around the countryside and it wouldn't cover that.
It's not a discussion that people are having, though, is it?
No.
People aren't aware of the amount of power that these cars consume.
Yeah.
And if you go 100% electric cars, it's going to be a big grid issue.
Places like China, where they are, they will be at 100% electric by 2030.
Yeah.
And biggest car market in the world, and hundreds, a couple 100 million cars. It's huge, but they can do it because they're building a coal-fired power plant every week. You know, they're adding 2 or 3 more nuclear power plants every year. You know, like they're adding, and it's sensible. They're adding the power to the grid to power the electric cars. And now they're not doing it to save the world either. Well, it's geopolitical.
And that's when you have a Western leader talk to you about China, you hear a Western leader talk to you about China and how they're having all these electric cars and they're doing it, right? Just remember, when they're charged by a coal-powered station, that's not what they're talking about. It's like you're driving around with a little coal engine back to your Tesla there.
It's the same. It's the same sort of pollutant. It's just, okay, your air quality might be a little bit better. That's about the other.
You'd also get efficiency loss. So if you're charging an electric car on coal power, there's efficiency loss in burning the coal, transferring it to electricity. Then the transmission line's coming, to a network that's going to your house, and you're charging your car. There'd be about a 30% drop off through the lines of efficiency of how that's going.
Yeah, but there is for whatever you do.
It's compared to a combustion engine.
Oh, yeah. Sorry,
direct power.
And electricity-wise, you lose. That's just a fact of life.
That's how you lose your electricity. But when you're doing it in a car where you have that direct combustion going straight to your wheels, the ratio of how much power you're losing, if you're powering it also by
but the Chinese don't want to be dependent on sea routes for oil. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
So when the shit hits the fan one day with China, they'll be fine. They're not gonna have a rebellion because people can't get to and from work or drive around, because they'll be able to plug their cars into their immense electricity.
They'll be able to produce batteries with their own.
They make them all. They make them all already.
What about the material?
Most of the material comes out of China now. Cobalt mines and everything comes out of China. Comes out of Tibet.
Okay,
that's why they want to do it.
Yeah,
and a lot of the other materials that they get come from African countries that China's got Belt and Road initiatives in. So they control that stuff. And Chile as well. They've got Belt and Road initiatives in Chile, and they get a lot of their lithium out of Chile. So, okay, it might be that if there's a big war, the sea route might slow some of that down, but they have a lot of the stuff themselves anyway.
Yeah.
And everyone's already driving an electric car, despite the myth. You're not replacing the battery every 5 minutes.
No,
they'll have a good 8 to 10 years before you have to start thinking about it, and by then the war's over.
Yeah, Yeah, which is scary.
Might not be able to produce new cars as quickly, like no one can in war times. But yeah, they're pretty. Most of the materials they need, they have access to either with allies very close, like Russia, or from Tibet or Mongolia. That's where a lot of the mines are for a lot of the materials.
What do we see as being the other big issue? So we've spoken about power, cost of living, federal election.
Yep.
What is the average Australian voting on?
I think it's cost of living.
Cost of living is the main.
Yeah. Oh, the cost. Yeah, 100%. I mean, you've got to. I was talking to my bank manager the other day, and he was telling me that he's got that many people coming in to try and refinance their mortgages at the moment. Mm-hmm. Just like because they've got 15 years or 15-year, 20-year mortgage, and they can't quite afford it, and they want to stretch it out to 30 years just because interest rates are high, and because the interest rates are high, and what they assess people on, he was saying that they can't do anything for them. Yeah, because they can't actually afford it by their assessments tools. So, and on top of that, you've got people coming out of fixed rates still that are coming from like a 2 or 3% fixed rate suddenly into a 6 or 7%. Yeah, and go, oh, can I refinance it? Can I do something? And they're going, no, you can't, because we assess it on the 3% above whatever the rate is. That's how they do it.
Yeah.
So they're going, no, you can't actually afford it. Oh, but I'm paying it. No, tough. Like our assessment tools are telling you that you can't get a loan. So that's happening to a lot of people apparently at the moment that are going into banks.
And I think even for people that's not affecting as much, I mean, me and my wife, Ashley, we're pretty comfortable where we are. We bought a good time. We're pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
But we know people that are struggling. We can see it around us very clearly.
Yeah, and absolutely.
And as parents of 2 young children, our mind goes straight to, they're 5 and 4. What's the housing market going to be like by the time they're getting into it when they're 24, 25, wherever it may be? Maybe I'm dreaming they can get out that early. So we're looking at investments to make sure that we can at least set something up, or at least give them some opportunity.
Why do you think I've been building houses and doing that stuff for the last few years? Yeah. I see it coming.
Yeah.
Like, we obviously, we've had some rental properties and stuff for years that we obviously bought, again, at the right time, and we're doing demolitions and building more houses on those blocks. And the reason for it is because I know it's going to get to a point where our kids are going to be in their 20s, and they're not going to be able to buy their own home. And if something happens or some circumstance where they really need a home, at least we have one for them.
Yeah,
and that's sort of
they're not going to be on the street.
Yeah, and now
or living with you in the back. Yeah,
no, that's the real reason. I don't want them living with me until they're 30. But that's sort of was out my wife and my mindset. Yeah, 3, 4, 5 years ago was okay. We've got to start thinking in the future, because I could see the writing was on the wall then. But now it's ridiculous what houses cost.
And I think in South Australia, the house prices have gone up dramatically. Everyone's gone, oh, is it sustainable? Yeah, it is, because we're playing catch up. What's happening?
Yeah, we're still behind. Like you try, imagine trying to do this in Sydney or Melbourne.
Yeah,
like Melbourne, if you want to live, an hour and a half out of Melbourne, you can do it. But no one really wants to live out.
Yeah, and that's
as much.
And as much as interest rates are high and properties are going for record prices, now is the time to be investing. Because when you look at
you can do it, yeah. But
because if you look at the Greater Adelaide Plan, and if anyone's looking at investing in Adelaide, it's a great thing to do. If you look at, we live in the southern suburbs here, it goes all the way down to Sellex Beach, and sort of wraps around, and it's sort of protected by the McLaren Vale Character Preservation Act, which you can't build on. Now, if you look at the southern span, it's happening the exact same when you speak to people like Glenn Doherty out north, right? The same thing's happening out north. You get to the capacity where your green infill, your greenfill is reaching its capacity. So you've got a bit of room out at Sellex and a bit of room down at Aldinga to, sell some land and get some new housing. As soon as that happens, it's all infill, which means it's going to put a massive pressure on the housing market. And we haven't hit that yet. We're getting very close to hitting that. So now's the time to be investing, because as soon as that happens, your property's going to be worth more, your land's going to be worth a hell of a lot more, and people will be subdividing to make those new houses and new housing coming in the market. Subdivision and building up will be the only options. Therefore, if you've invested early, now the time to be
I'm going to sell you a full left tail with what I say now, but
would you?
But it is concerning me that gap between haves and have-nots is starting to get out of this world, and that comes back to that housing thing. I think we're going to see a situation in the next couple of years where the people like say myself or you guys that have houses, we're going to be fine, but those are going to continue to appreciate. We're going to get like stupidly high rents for them, and we'll be fine. But the people that just can't quite get into that market now are screwed.
Oh yeah,
you know. And I don't know what the answer is. You know, like I mean, I can tell you one thing: the answer definitely isn't bringing 600,000 or 700,000 people a year into the country. And and when you only built 150,000 new homes last year, like you just. As long as they're going to, essentially government policy, that's what they're going to keep doing, bringing in maybe not 600,000 or 700,000, but they still want to bring in 250,000 as a minimum every year. Yeah, we're only building 150,000 homes a year. So how are you going to, like, the supply and demand thing, which is in any marketplace, is going to mean that those houses, you know, the $600,000 or $700,000 cheap house in Adelaide will be $1 million house before you know it. You know, and that's going to mean that people can't get into the market because wages aren't growing. Now, despite what Albo says, wages might grow, but the inflation rate is outstripping those wage growth. So
wage growth is not
actually getting a wage CPI cut. Yeah. So, yeah, and that's sounding like a lefty too, you know. And they always like to say, "Oh, they cut Medicare." No, okay, they might not have risen the amount of Medicare. Going into the system as what CPI was, but it wasn't a cut. But essentially, that's what's happening now with wages and the inflation rate. They're not keeping up with each other.
It's interesting because you hear a lot of political pundits on the radio, and they ask the question that I just asked about what is the main issue going to this federal election, and everyone says cost of living. But then you listen to people on the ABC, they say, "Oh, well, nuclear power is obviously going to be an issue."
No, that's secondary.
Immigration is going to be an issue. These things are linked to cost of living. So when you look at the policy suite that so far that Dutton has put in, nuclear power is directly about cost of living and how you can afford your electricity.
Yeah,
immigration numbers is directly affected cost of living and what it's like for young, Australians to buy their own home.
Yeah,
these things are linked all in. If cost of living is that centre core of the big issue, the policies around it are the ones that are trying to address that centre issue. And I think that's where Labor have really fallen. They go, "Oh, cost of living is I'll give you a $300 rebate." Oh, okay, well, your own money. No, that's not what. Yeah. That's not how you address cost of living. It deals through
the tax cuts that they're advertising on TV. Well, they don't address the CPI inflation increase either. They don't touch the sides on it. I mean, I've thought for a long time that they might as well say if you earn $60,000 a year or less, you don't pay income tax. And people go, "Oh, that's going to be a huge hit to the budget." No, it's not. It's bugger all. Because what basically people earning under $60,000 a year net don't contribute anything to the tax system because of all the other benefits that come with it. Yeah. So you're better off just not taxing those folks and giving them a chance to keep some of their own money.
Yeah,
you can cut back on some of the other things, like perks that come through the welfare system, but just let them have their own money. You know, like that. It's not going to hurt the budget by doing that, but it will help those folks get by and pay their groceries. You know, pay their $300 or $400 a week's worth of groceries, which is very easy to do at the moment.
No, yeah, it's grocery shopping.
Oh, it's just
if I did it, I'd be a poor.
I didn't say I did it.
I hear about it. Yeah,
I just see it when I look at the app.
What?
I go, did we buy the store?
Yeah. Maybe it's a myth. Maybe it's all good price. They're just going out and buying other things while they're out.
Yeah, maybe. But that's a pretty big conspiracy for every Australian to be doing at the moment.
They're pretty coordinated.
Every Australian in the household, the person in the household that does the shopping.
So, I mean, we spoke about America. We spoke a bit about federal politics.
Hey, one thing back to America.
Yep.
We only revert back to America. I'm wearing a MAGA hat.
It's so American politics is too irresistible not to come back 2, 3 or 4 times.
What's your pick for Trump's VP?
Well, it's always hard picking something for Trump because you go, okay,
Well, he already knows. It's already decided.
in his head, he knows who it is.
Yeah.
So you try and get inside Donald Trump's head, and good luck to anyone who can actually manage that. So then you go, okay, if I was Trump, who would I have?
Yeah.
And for electoral purpose, you would say something. You maybe think of a female to try and get that female vote, something that he does lack in when you look at some of the polling coming up. So if you can boost those numbers, and then you get well, who are the females on the Republican side that have showed loyalty to Trump? Because Trump is someone that relies on loyalty. I mean, if you went back a year ago, you'd say someone like a Nikki Haley. That's impossible now. That can't happen. That's
my Smokey.
That's your Smokey.
And I'll tell you why. She signed over all of her delegates to Trump yesterday. Didn't have to. I mean, they were going to be opened up at the convention anyway, but she made a deal about signing them over and asking them to be loyal to Trump. It's probably highly unlikely, but
it's the best electoral rate.
It is paying $26 at the moment on Sportsbet, but
gamble responsibly.
Yeah. But I think she's a Smoky. She's been very quiet. She stayed out of the way. She's in the last month. She's only really posted positive things in relation to Trump and his agenda.
Maybe you're right, because you see, Trump is a bit different. You look at him over the last week or two with Joe Biden. He has shown an uncharacteristic amount of restraint. Yeah, he learned from 2020. What was the old saying in politics? When your opponents,
when you're on top, just
sit back. Give them a little bit more rope, because too many times we're in 2020 when Joe Biden would be looking to do something silly. Trump took all the oxygen.
Oh, in a debate. So that killed it. So the debates, because Trump couldn't help himself, he didn't actually allow Biden to expose himself in 2020 in the debates.
Yeah, and this time around, he was quieter. He just gave it a little bit of a look.
We didn't have a choice. The mic was turned off when Biden was hanging himself.
But he gave a look, and then there was just that one comment at the end of one of the blubbering messes that Biden delivered when he goes,
"Well, I don't even know what he said."
I don't think he knows what he said.
I don't know what you said. Yeah. I don't think he does.
But from that, he's shown that uncharacteristic restraint.
Yeah.
And he's letting all the media, all the airtime be taken away on someone other than him, which is that'll be out of Trump's. He'll be struggling with it a little bit. But we're coming into the week of the Republican convention too. So we're going
to know next Monday, I think, or Tuesday our time
for the VP.
Yeah. So the VP, he's already said the VP nominee's going to introduce him.
Well,
so whoever walks out there, you go, but this is a guy that had that Apprentice show, right? He'll keep you guessing till the end. So anything's possible. But I look at it like this. I go, you got J.D. Vance from Ohio. He's only 44 years old. He's young. He's a full MAGA guy. But I don't know if Trump needs the full MAGA guy. He's already got that crowd. You've got Bergen as well from North Dakota. But the baggage, I think, with him is that he's got zero tolerance on abortion in North Dakota.
Yeah.
So basically, I don't. Be honest with you, I don't have too many problems with that personally. But that's what he's brought in there, and I think that'll be an area they can attack him on.
Yeah.
Real hard.
Yeah.
But a good businessman, good governor, done everything right. The other guy that I think, the guy I probably think is most likely, I mean, I actually hope it's Nikki Haley. Not that I think she's awesome, but I just think for the ticket it's better. But the guy I think it's actually going to be is Marco Rubio.
Marco Rubio. He's Marco Rubio, particularly third favourite on the bookie apps at the moment.
Marco Rubio, he'll have to vacate his Senate seat and he'll have to relocate to DC. That's going to be the thing because he's from Florida. You can't have two people on the same ticket from Florida, which is the other problem the Democrats had with Gavin Newsom, and they've got to keep Camilla in bed somehow. Mm-hmm. They're both from California.
So that's one of the things. So in America, you can't have your president and your vice president coming from the same state, so you don't have that monopoly of control.
Yeah, it's part of the Constitution. So that's where I think. I think Marco Rubio or as a smoky, I think Nikki Haley. I think that's
So if you go on
going to be
to
where it is.
Sportsbet right now and gamble responsibly, this is in no way a promotion of gambling. This is just to get the feel of how the pundits are going for the nominee for VP for the Republicans.
Yep.
Vance is paying $2.40. He's the favourite at the moment. Marco Rubio is in fourth place, paying $12. That's not bad.
That's a good bet.
That's not a good bet.
Who's Bergen second?
Yeah, Bergen second, yeah.
Yeah.
And Carson third.
Yes, he's going to be good too.
Ben Carson's $10.
If I was doing it just purely on a tactical and what looks like the best ticket, I think the best looking tickets for Trump, and I think this is how he'll do it. I don't think he's going to do it on ideology. I think he's going to do it on what's the best ticket. The best ticket will be Rubio him, because Rubio will lock in the Hispanic vote.
Yeah.
Hardcore.
Yeah.
All right. Or Carson, Trump, because they're two polar opposites. One guy's one guy's really measured and really calm and really articulate, and the other guy is very bombastic. Or Nikki Haley, because Nikki Haley will bring.
What did you think?
Bring in minority.
What did you have Nikki Haley paying at the moment?
Oh, it's $26.
$26. Yeah.
Yeah, $26 more.
Yeah. So Nikki Haley and Tim Scott are paying $20. Tim Scott's not going to be there.
No, I don't think he's going to get there either.
No. He seems a bit too soft.
Yeah, I think so too. And it'd be the fear with Ben Carson too. He's
Vivek Ramaswamy paid $26 as well. He won't be the VP.
He doesn't want to be VP,
but I think he will get a job in the administration.
Oh yeah. He'll
be in the administration.
Oh, he'll be Secretary of Commerce or something like that.
Then let's have a look.
Mind you, all those names I just mentioned, all of them, and I think even Nikki Haley, I think will be in the administration.
So obviously this has happened after the big boy press conference this week. If we go to the Democratic nominee at the moment, Biden's been winning all week.
Yeah.
Harris has gone to 220, Biden 237 now, so it's the first time in a week that Harris has taken over Biden. And Gavin Newsom is at $13, Michelle Obama at $15.
No, Michelle,
that's a waste of money.
Michelle Obama was never going to happen.
$15 if she wanted to run, maybe, but it's made no. Yeah.
Oh, hey, it's the open market. People obviously, people that watch The View have obviously put a bit of money on Michelle.
And then if you go for the election itself, Donald Trump is paying $1.53 to be the next president.
He's been in the $1.50 pretty solid for the last 2 weeks.
Kamala Harris is $4.50.
Yep.
Then it goes Joe Biden out to $8. So what I'm saying, if he is a nominee, he's not going to win.
If he is the nominee, he'll come back into $3 or $4.
Yeah,
that's just how betting works.
Gavin,
it's the reason why the Democrat punting's all over the shop there is because there's so many options. There's only one option with Trump. But I think Trump will stay, at $1. He'll
Gavin Newsom's paying $20,
$30, $40, and probably stay there pretty solid leading into the election.
Yeah, Newsom's paying $20, Obama $21. So that's weird. That's flipped. So yeah, but that's where the odds sit at the moment in the American college. There's some funny bets you can put on there, a little combination.
Oh no, that's right. But yeah, I think whoever Trump picks for his VP, that's going to be crucial. Like if he does pick JD Vance, I mean, that's like he's a very smart guy. He's a very well-spoken guy, a very articulate guy. But he's hardcore MAGA, which under normal circumstances that'd tick all of Trump's boxes. But Trump's got to be thinking too, I've got to get elected. What can a guy from Ohio that he's going to win anyway, or a guy from North Dakota, bring him?
Yeah,
they're not going to bring him a state. Yeah. He's already got those states. What's a actually the other guy that I think, geez, we're just naming them all the Smokies here. We really no.
We'll get it.
But the other
it'll be none of the ones we know.
Yeah, the guy actually, if you were thinking tactically too, Glenn Youngkin, governor of Virginia, would be a good pick too, because he's the governor of Virginia. Virginia's turning into a swing state. Yeah, Trump's only 2 points down on the 538 average.
Yep.
In Virginia. So, I mean, Glenn Youngkin, I guess you got to weigh it up. He picks Glenn Youngkin, he probably flips Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, but I guess guys like people like Nikki Haley or Marco Rubio have nationwide appeal.
Yeah. And it has been a different... I mean, campaign Trump is always different to governing Trump or coming away from it.
Yeah.
And he has been restrained. He's showing the campaign apparatus that's showing polling and trying to be a bit more thoughtful, methodical around how it's happening.
Yeah.
Has certainly been getting his ear and winning a few of those. Yeah, he's listening hard.
No. He's definitely not. I mean, I think he'll always ultimately do his own thing.
Yeah.
But as long as they're convincing him it's his idea, he's definitely listening to him.
Yes.
Like he's definitely much more restrained than what he was last time around. Which is going to play with his favour.
Now, if we want to go maybe a bit more locally, now we've spoken about America, federal, South Australian politics.
Yep.
Katrine Hilliard, Minister for Child Protection, Minister for Sport and Racing, local member for Ray Nell. Yeah, I wouldn't have picked it.
Yeah.
The biggest criticism in the early days, when Malinauskas first announced his cabinet, people did say, why would you have sport and racing and child protection in the one ministerial suite?
Yeah.
Because child protection in South Australia needs to be a standalone job. It's big enough by itself. If you're off going to sporting events or in the racing industry and
at least have a portfolio. If you're going to match them up, at least have a portfolio that somehow has some connection to it.
Yeah, overlap.
Yeah, an overlap. Whether it's but you just can't
having services or housing.
You can't, or health or whatever. You can't have it tied up with sports and horse
and racing. So that was the early criticism.
Yeah,
and Malinauskas having the complete control of the Parliament just didn't take any of that feedback on board. And he's got well, back in Katrine, she can do them both.
Yeah, no, we need the factional votes that come from her.
Yeah, exactly right. Being separate factions.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing in the news the amount of kids who are in state care. We're seeing the amount of kids who are being abused, being raped. And in the paper this week, there's been another 2 pregnancies reported through this. The amount of deaths in custody, not custody, sorry, right word. Deaths in care.
In care, yeah. Well, it probably feels like custody.
It would feel like it for them. It's appalling, and the stat that actually hit me the most, and something I want to do a little bit more research into, is that 1 in 4 young South Australians will be reported to child protection before the age of 10. That was in the paper today.
Yeah.
Now, to me, I just can't get my head around that it would be 1 in 4. That seems... And it's... Reported doesn't mean there's necessarily something wrong. People can report and be investigated, nothing's found.
Yeah.
But 1 in 4 is such a frightening stat.
No, when I read the stat, and I mean, yes, I do have some privilege in my life, but, my kids go to private schools and things like that. But when I read it, I thought, how could that be possible? Because, it just blew my mind.
If that is true, then the states are very bad.
Yeah, well, just imagine what it's like in the state school system. Yeah, if that's been like the amount of kids that are damaged or got issues in the state school system. I don't know whether that's. I've never heard of those issues coming up in my children's schools.
Yes,
so it makes me think. Okay, if it's 1 in 4, it's probably almost 1 in 2 in some schools.
Yes, the weighting would be very different. Yeah.
It is, and it just made me think. Wow.
It was that much of a shock to me. I thought that can't be right. And I thought, did they go the amount of reports divided by the amount of kids? Because obviously some kids are going to have multiple reports. Or may have been an error in the way.
No. It was individual cases. It was individual children. It wasn't.
Yeah. Because I was going. At least in the government head, this can't be right. And
that's how I read. Anyway, there was 1 in 4 children. So there's probably as many reports as what there is children, but some of those children have multiple reports going.
Now, this has been a pretty consistent thing in our media here in South Australia. We're hearing this slow leak of stories coming through the department,
Yep.
and just gut-wrenching stories. When you hear about what these young people are going through, you can't help but just go, like, it's an emotional thing to hear, right?
Yeah, and the fact that they're leaking means that it probably means that the crisis is worse.
Yeah.
Because most of those departments, I mean, they're, and generally they'd be generally left leaning.
Yep.
The people in charge of them.
Yep.
That they'd be loyal to people within the current government. But for them to actually feel like they have to leak out information like this means that it's a very serious crisis.
And I know, the name of this podcast is Adelaide Conservatives. We talk about the differences between conservatives and progressives.
Talking about America or this one, but that's good.
An issue like this, yes, is such not a political issue. It's about getting this right, because this stuff has to stop, and you actually need a plan to put it forward. And when you had a look a couple of weeks ago in the estimates hearing in state parliament, with Katrine was fronting up to the estimates hearing as the minister, she has to report to other members of parliament who sit on that committee. She sat through that at the end, when they finished up the hearing. She's gone, woo! Like, she's celebrating the hearing.
Like she's got out of detention or something. Yeah.
It is. How can you celebrate when you have that many kids in state care that are dying, being sexually abused, falling pregnant to rape?
Yeah.
This is happening under our state care, and you finish your hearing, and your reaction is go, woo! Like,
Well, I've got to say, look, hats off to Honourable Laura Henderson, though.
Yes.
For pursuing this. She's been like a dog on a bone with this, and you'd probably seen her on local news here a fair bit. Like she's pursuing this and not letting it get swept under the rug like most stuff seems to.
Yeah.
With this government. So.
Yeah. So I think that's one to watch coming back. I think Katrine is going to have a world of pressure on her. You're hearing a whole bunch of rumours about what could happen within state politics.
Yeah.
That might have to be a reshuffle, and
I know.
Peter Malinauskas,
He's got to get out of it.
we've been pretty balanced on this podcast. We've given Peter Malinauskas credit where he needs to have credit for. He's done some great things for this state. He's a great politician. He's articulate. He does all these things, ticks a lot of boxes. But this is a real challenge for him now. It's time to go. Put politics aside. You're a great politician. This is about working for the people. You need to make a change. Katrine has to go. She can't stick around in that portfolio. And you need to change what's happening, because it's bigger than Katrine. It's bigger than you or how the Labor Party's moving. This is about getting the right result for young South Australians who, frankly, are in a position that none of us could even imagine ever being in. And if you don't make that change now, the pressure is only going to get worse.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Anything else going on in local politics?
No, I can't think of anything else. I think we've covered pretty well everything we set out to. Any other hot issues you think, even if it was around the world?
Oh, well, obviously we've got this ongoing war in Ukraine.
Oh, we got Israel-Gaza.
Israel-Gaza it's actually been something that I've been pretty disappointed with. As a country, our response to what has happened. Now, this whole, when everyone goes, proportionate responses, or, and it's tragic that when you look at footage in Gaza, you're seeing innocent people, children, whatever it may be, that real emotional path that is going to get people. When they blame Israel for that, when you've got this terrorist organisation running a country, hiding kids behind the war machine because of cowardice.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, Israel's not above criticism. No one is. That's what democracy is, right?
Yeah.
You can be criticised for individual decisions and stuff, but don't lose track of the big picture of how bad Hamas is. And Hamas is the real enemy here. And I would challenge anyone who puts a social media post talking about Gaza and, thinking of them in Gaza, all these sort of things. I've never seen anyone of those people call out Hamas. Now, if Palestine is a passion of yours and you want the people in Palestine to live better, safer, freer lives, then you need to be calling out Hamas, and you can't have double standards. You can't have your blinkers on.
No. And look, hey, any death's a tragedy. But when I hear it all the time, I have these debates within my own family. But when you have people that will say, oh, Hamas did this, or it's Hamas's fault. Why are the Palestinian people suffering? Why are they being bombed? You know, that it's Hamas. Well, they didn't, in the Second World War, they didn't say, okay, it's the Nazis that we're targeting when they were bombing Dresden.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's what happens in war. And it's tragic, but that's what happens in war. You get shot when Nazi people that run the place are the terrorist or are the enemy. There's going to be a lot of collateral damage, and that's just war.
New shock. In Nazi Germany, there was hundreds of thousands of, if not millions of, mum, dad, families, good people who weren't involved in the Nazi regime. No, in Germany that had indiscriminate bombing attack them, but it was a necessity. It's a survival thing. You don't want to be put in the war. You don't start the war, but you have to finish it. Otherwise, you are going to be under attack.
And I think it's a bit rich for like some Americans or some American politicians to come out and say it's disproportionate. I mean, I think the people in Afghanistan and Iraq would have something to say about disproportionate bombing and disproportionate deaths of civilians from what the Americans' experience has been in the last 20 years there.
And on a weird way to say it,
that is what happens in war.
When a war started, when people invade a country, they kill innocent people, they kill young people at music festivals, they abduct women, rape women, kill babies.
Yeah.
Like on camera, deliberately killing those, targeting people with, knives and guns. Do you want a proportionate response to match? Like, look. Like, how do you measure what a proportionate response is? You want that to be the same on the other side?
Even Joe Biden today, like, he's like, he hasn't handled this very well at all. He should have just basically said, look, we support you 100%. You go in, you get rid of Hamas, and then we'll talk about everything afterwards. But they're pussyfooted around, they're tiptoed around, they're too worried about Michigan, where there's a lot of Muslim population. They're too worried about politics to actually do the right thing. And Joe Biden today, where he sort of said, oh, yeah, I support them going after Hamas, but, basically sort of said, I don't support, the death of civilians. Well, no one supports the death of civilians, but you can't have it two different ways. If you're going after Hamas in that built-up small little strip of land, lots of innocent people are going to get killed. Or do you alternatively just sit back and go, look, you got us this time. We'll be more prepared next time, and just let them prepare for another attack in another 3 or 5 years' time. Yeah, it's a shit situation, but it is what it is.
And touched something here. If you go back to the we spoke about immigration in terms of housing crisis.
Yeah,
another area that I don't think we speak about it enough. In America, they talk about the Muslim vote. In Australia, now we're hearing more the Muslim vote.
Yeah,
yeah. People voting along religious beliefs is never a great thing. It should be about what you think is best for your country. Now, I'm all for immigration.
It's a terrible circumstance to have.
The right immigration is important. You don't just open the floodgates, because if someone's migrating to Australia, I've conducted myself personally plenty of citizenship ceremonies. On average, Dad, here when I was running, we would have sort of maybe 80 to 90 new Australians having their citizenship from sort of 20 to 26 countries.
Yep.
Right. And the majority of them have come from either, a war-torn country, or have come here from one of our allies, Britain, just, wanting a better life and the lifestyle of the Australian. South Africa. Plenty of South Africans. But then what you also see, a lot of people have come from war-torn countries that have come here the right way.
Yep.
And have, done an allegiance under God to put their allegiance to Australia. If you're coming to Australia because you believe in our democratic values and institutions, what Australia is about.
Yeah.
You don't just come here because you're trying to get away from something. If you're trying to get away from something, but you're going to bring that same ideology and political beliefs over, that's the part where there needs to be a little bit of a change. Because
there's a real issue there, because you see it across Europe as well. There seems to be one particular group of people that seem to want to basically go somewhere, not assimilate, and expect people to respect their way of living, and even more so expect them to take on their value system.
Yeah.
You look at another big group of people that come to Australia is Indians. people from India. I mean, they, from my experience with lots of Indian friends I've got, they assimilate beautifully. Yes, they are Hindus. They're not Christians like most of us.
And they can still have their religion.
But they assimilate their religion. Exactly. They assimilate and they become Australians. Mm-hmm. I mean, but there's just something, for some reason, with people that are coming from Muslim countries, they just don't want to do it.
And again,
I'm not saying they all don't, but there's enough of them that don't, that you end up with ghettos like what we've got in Sydney. And like Canberra and places like that, where you know, like you couldn't be a Jew and walk down the street there. You get lynched.
Yeah,
I mean that's for me unacceptable.
You have a look at the Sydney Opera House that got shown on every television screen around the world.
Yeah, every bus from the Canberra was on duty that night to bring them in.
That is not what Australia is.
No,
and yeah, you spoke about the Indian community. I've had the same experiences. They come here, they keep their religion and a lot of their practices and customs. And they add to our multicultural society.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But having said that, and probably maybe assimilate's not the right word. They come here because they believe in what Australia is. So they haven't.
Yeah,
they've come for a reason. They've not come here and then changed. They've come here because they see it as a better country with better freedoms,
more opportunities for their kids and stuff like that.
So they actually really value that.
Yeah.
Now, there's plenty of Muslims that come over here that are in the same boat.
Yeah, there are.
There are.
Unfortunately, there's too many of them.
There's too many that are, and that's the scrutiny of immigration that you need to look at.
Yeah,
because what we're saying is, it doesn't matter if you're left or right. It's the traditional values of Australia that everyone signs up to here is the part that you've got to be.
100%.
And because, frankly, if you're going to have these parties that are forming up now that are literally looking for a Muslim vote, they're going to stack their areas and they have a voice inside our institutions. That takes away the very fabric of who we are.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, look, you know, like imagine if you had a situation where we're all Catholic Australians suddenly decided they were going to vote one way and have their own little party, and all Protestant Australians were going to have their own little party, and all Hindu Australians. Like, I mean,
and the irony,
it's just not very good. Not very good for society.
The irony, as soon as there's any sort of a Christian value that may be challenged within a parliamentary system, the left is the first to put the hand up and go, separation between church and state, separation between church and state.
Yeah.
As long as that church happens to be a Christian church.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But if it's the other one, no, we can't. That's racist. We can't be doing that.
Yeah. Oh, look, we've dragged in welcome to countries and smoking ceremonies and all this other crap into everything that we do in Parliament and councils as well. I mean that's a religious thing as well. So why is that okay? Yet saying the Lord's Prayer is not. You know, I mean, like, it's just a joke.
Yeah. I think we need to do a little bit more on that maybe in some future episodes of LA Conservative, because, you know, through the work that I've done in the past, I'm pretty well connected to a lot of our Indigenous community and a lot of the leaders within it.
Yep.
No, they're not all on board on this stuff.
No, they're not. They're not.
A lot of them are to a certain
hard left of those communities are. But the average person, I mean, I know lots of Indigenous folks like through the cricket club, and they don't like any of this identity politics bullshit either.
Well, they feel singled out.
Yeah, that's right. Well, they find it on the most part, a lot of them find it embarrassing.
Yeah. You have your Indigenous round, and all of a sudden everyone turns around to you as the one Indigenous bloke on the team, and they go, "Are you going to do something about that?" Well, I'm just here to play
that's right. Yeah, that's going to be one of the boys. Yeah.
What have to be singled out and different. And I think it also takes away from, you know, Aboriginal culture, something we should celebrate in Australia. We should be really proud of that, and, you know, the history there, and people should know about it and learn about it. But as soon as you start doing this stuff, it takes over every part. You've got to feel sorry for, you know, you've got to be welcome to your own country.
Oh, yeah, no,
it starts to diminish.
Nowhere else, wherever I've been anywhere else in the world, nowhere else do I fly in and they have, like, some welcome to country nonsense come across in the cabin of the plane. It's only when you come back to Australia that you get the acknowledgement that you're on such and such land. I mean, it's bullshit. You don't get that when you arrive in the United States, whether you're arriving on Apache land or Cherokee land or wherever you're landing in the United States. You get none of that crap.
But you can get, you know, if you deliver a welcome to country for a local council or state government, you might do a 2-minute welcome. You might earn, say, $400 to $450 for that 2-minute welcome. you might be doing 3, 4, 5 events a day.
Yeah.
Now,
Or you might get $1,400 if you come along to a cricket club and do a welcome to country and throw a few spears.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of people that watch our podcast are elected members within local government. We have state and federal politicians that, you know, we text us after a podcast. I think from a policy perspective, if anyone was looking to do it, it's a good starting point. If you're at your local government, we use that as an example, you want to put a motion forward. Don't put a motion forward to ban welcome to countries and that stuff. It's going to get a lot of publicity. It's going to divide people. You know, it might be very good with this. So
You're not putting a fixed price
don't
for these things.
don't put a motion there that anyone is welcome to do that, but we're not going to pay for it. If you want to welcome us genuinely to the country, we're not going to pay you for it.
Yeah.
Guarantee you won't hear it anymore.
No, it's all about the money. It's business.
So, perfect. All right, well, it's a pretty good first podcast back. You're going to see a lot more leading up to the, as you can probably tell, the American election in November. And also, as we approach maybe an early election in Australia, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either.
LA Conservatives is back.
Is he? Thank you.